Hello and welcome to the Coffin Lounge podcast. I'm your host, VampireKitten, and today I am here with Miguel Valentin. Can you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, first, thank you for having me. Truly honored. My name is Miguel Valentin. I am a tattoo artist and a body modification artist. I also do performance art as well as some blood painting.
That's awesome.
I was going to say, originally from New York City, part of the Gotham Halo. But I've been residing here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida for the last 7 years. And I'm basically making this my home now.
Okay, cool. So I have so many questions. How did you get involved? Let's start from the beginning, right? How did you get involved in the vampire community?
So in '98, I was introduced to the vampire scene, I guess you would call it, back then, through the house that I'm a part of now, which is Hidden Shadows, one of the three original legacy houses that was started in Gotham. And I basically was invited to go to a party, and I was blown away by the vibe and the energy. Particularly because it was Black and Latinos. I'm Puerto Rican and Argentinian. So to see Black and Latinos gothed out and vamped out and dancing to music like Rammstein and Disturbed and Manson and all that, it was something completely new, and I was just enthralled by it. And I was taken back, and I went back again a couple times, and I had a blast, man. It was just an amazing energy that was there. It had a very tribal feel to it, especially on the dance floor. And I felt so comfortable. I felt at home, and to the point where I felt comfortable enough to get on the dance floor and dance to the industrial music. And then I was approached by the elders of House in Shadows. At the time, I was dating my ex-wife at the time, and she's a body piercer, and I'm a tattoo artist. And we were working together, and they approached us, and they asked us to kind of take a walk with them. And we just went and started walking down 125th Street, and they were explaining to me what the House of Hidden Shadows was all about. And the biggest thing that they talked about was family, that it was a family, and that they would meet regularly. And the tenets were basically about knowledge and magic, as well as there was a very strong emphasis on nonviolence. And I had just, I had some past experience with a lot of violence, and that really intrigued me because I wanted to leave that behind me. And these are my elders are top-ranked martial artists. Like, they grew up in the martial arts, and the party that I'm talking about, the Realm of Darkness, was actually held at the dojo. There was a dojo as well as a dance academy, and then there was the club. And I thought that was really respectable. You know, that these are guys that could easily break you down like quick, and they're pushing the whole nonviolence. And there was a lot of violence in New York at the time, still is, and their emphasis was about nonviolence. So that really intrigued me. As well as the whole concept of learning about knowledge about energy transference, learning about visualization and manifesting, manifesting your desires or your will into this reality. And that was right on point with where I was at in my life, because I was really into visualization. I had just become a professional tattoo artist. And, that was what I used to do. I used to use my visualization and project what I wanted to manifest. and they were teaching how to, I guess, first identify as a vampire, this archetype, which was to me a master of one's own fate. You know what I mean? Like where you can manifest your energy in a mastery level. And to me, that was just like raising the bar and taking it one step further from just visualization, you know. And we would have meetings where, you know, we would share each other's energy. It was almost like a power circle, and we would give our energies to each person's goal or vision. And that was like right where I wanted to be at that time in my life.
Right.
Yeah, so once I officially became an initiate to House Hidden Shadows, and you know, eventually the rankings, you know, go up in I guess status, if you will. But the other thing was that we would meet regularly downtown with other houses and other members of the community. I didn't know anything about it, and when I found out about it, I thought it was great. I thought it was interesting that there were other people like us, and that's where I learned about the scene and the community, the vampire community in general. Yeah, so that's how I came about with that.
So you have a lot of history. So tell me a little bit. You are officially our first kind of vampire type guest on this show. I've been kind of like postponing a little bit just because I want to get some other stuff mixed in, you know. But the intention for this show was originally like kind of like an interview with a vampire sort of thing, where I wanted to talk to different people about their different experiences in the community as well. But I think it's interesting that you have been a very long time member of the community, especially the New York halos and houses and things. They're some of the oldest, I think, in the country. So that's really cool. That's interesting, like an interesting sort of look at it that not a lot of people get. So you had mentioned that you became a tattoo artist. When did that start?
That also started in '98 professionally.
Okay.
I had been dabbling a little bit, you know, learning on my own. I spent about 2 years tattooing myself, and then I got an apprenticeship in '98. And, you know, I went full, like, I didn't even think it was possible, but this opportunity came, and I apprenticed in a small little studio in Harlem on 125th Street in Lexington. And within 6 months, I was tattooing professionally. And man, that first day when he was like, do you got your gear with you? And I was like, yeah, I got it all. And he's like, all right, take that name. Cause he had, like, the guy who mentored me, he had this big back piece to do on some bodyguard or whatever. And the shop was like packed and people wanted to get tattooed. And he was like, grab that name. And then I did the name. And then I did a heart with a banner and then some Japanese kanjis. And like before I knew it, it was like 10 o'clock at night and I had done like 20 tattoos. And I was like, wow, this is fucking amazing. This is it. Like, I'm quitting my job tomorrow.
So what were you doing at the time, if you don't mind asking?
I was working at a bakery. Yeah, I was working at a bakery and I would be like 4 o'clock in the morning making croissants and bagels and then working till 12 o'clock. And then after 12 in the afternoon, I would head uptown and I'd apprentice tattooing.
That's awesome. That's how a lot of artists get started. It's just, it's so cool.
It was a blessing, man, too, because back then nobody was taking on apprentices, and you know, like they just, you know, if you didn't have a book or if you didn't like know somebody, and I just happened on it. I just happened upon it, and but I believe it was part of my manifesting what I wanted, because I've always been able to draw, and when I learned to tattoo, I was forced to finish the piece. You know, like I've got tons and tons of sketchbooks that are like half done. And when I started tattooing, I had to finish. It taught me a little bit of discipline. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that vision manifested itself and I became a professional tattoo artist. I've been doing it 26 years now. I own my own studio. I manage 2 studios, and I still love it. I still love tattooing. I love going into work. I love my studio. I love my clients. I love the work that I get to do. So it's all been a blessing.
So, are your tattoo studios in New York, or are they in Florida?
They're in Florida. They're in Fort Lauderdale. I have 2 studios. One is in Fort Lauderdale proper, and then the other one is the newest one that we just opened in Wilton Manors.
Well, congratulations. That's exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, it's called Ink Addiction.
Nice. I will make sure that I link everything in the description below for everybody. That way they can find you and your studios and all that.
Excellent.
So moving on a little bit from there, because that's exciting. But you also do. There's 2 things that you do. You do blood art, which I'd love to hear more about, and you do performance art. Yeah. So do you want to tell us a little bit about kind of both of those things and how they came to be?
Yeah, so I'm going to start with Theater de Vampires, which is basically I stole it from Interview. If you remember, Armand says, vampires pretending to be actors, pretending to be vampires, avant-garde. I think it was Claudia who said that, but
yeah.
I was like, that's perfect. That's exactly what I want to use for my troupe. And so I was in Hidden Shadows, and we have this beautiful space, and there's a great stage, and it was like the testing grounds for me starting this troupe. And I'm very much into the theater and movies, and I'd seen a lot of performance art that was, let's say, not refined. And I'm a bit of a taskmaster, so I wanted to put together something that told a story. It wasn't just we're going up there and we're poking ourselves with needles or whatever. And I had just gotten into body suspension, doing hook suspension. So what I did was I incorporated blood play and needle play, as well as hook suspension, and throw in a touch of shibari rope bondage, and I did all that, and I brought it to you in the genre of the theater, where there was dialogue and there was music and there was blocking and costumes, and it was a performance. And I owe a lot of that refinement to another mentor of mine by the name of Lucas Zapira, who is a world famous body modification artist out of France, who founded the Art Core Connection, which I am a part of. And it kind of just, they married each other, Art Core and Theater de Vampires, where I learned about body suspension and performance art through Art Core, and then I ran with it and added the vampire flavor to it. That led me to doing performance art on stage involving blood painting. So as a performer, you realize that people's attention span is very, limited, 5 or 10 minutes tops. So what I would do is I would do these blood paintings where I would poke myself and maybe fill up a chalice or something and do these abstract blood paintings on stage while I was suspended. And that was cool. That was great. It was fun. But as an artist, I came across someone by the name of Vincent Castiglia, who is one of the foremost acclaimed blood painting artists. But he would do these works that were so detailed. And then in itself, the artwork was amazing. And then you went, what? It's made out of blood? Like he uses blood for this? So I was intrigued by that. And again, I manifested that I needed to meet this person. And I did. And he encouraged me to just sit down and do some actual paintings, not on stage. And I did, and I put together a couple of canvases, and I just sat down and I started painting with my blood. And it came very, very fluidly, because it's very similar to when I do black and gray tattoo work. You know, it's the like one full cap of black and then half a cap of black and the rest is drops of water. So replace the ink with blood, and there you have it. And that's what I started to do. And I found a penchant for it. It was because I'm not really good with regular paint, like acrylics and oils. It doesn't flow the way that this. So then I started doing these actual renderings of pretty much anything. Skulls. I love anatomy. Kind of trippy, surrealistic style paintings. And that was the birth of that. And then I was fortunate enough to go to Paris a few years back. I got to see the Louvre and the Museum d'Orsay, and I was just blown away, man. I was really just taken aback by the sculpture and the paintings. And I came back from Paris super inspired, and I was part of this art gallery, and they were like, the art gallery actually itself is focused on repairing mental health through art, and when I told them I wanted to do blood paintings, they were like, you're not hurting yourself, right? And I'm like, no, my ex is a phlebotomist and she takes the blood and I do it at Lear's. There's no self-harm at all. And they were like, great, do your thing. And they went as far as to say that if I put together enough pieces, they would help me put a show on.
That's awesome.
And I was like, that's amazing, thank you. So I did. I put together 13 pieces. Most of them were just blood on canvas with water, and I think there's 2 of them that were actually charcoal mixed with blood and water. I'm not ashamed to say that it was the theme of the series was about addiction and recovery. I'm in recovery, and I'll be celebrating 8 years next February.
Congratulations!
And thank you. And that was the motivation behind my first series that you could see online at my website. It's the disease, the progression, the grip, the higher power, all these things was a big catharsis for me to get out and put it on canvas. And now I'm in the process of doing my next series, which is more about the gifts of recovery that I've received so far. And I'm very excited for this next series to come out. I've been painting my ass off, and the viewing is partially going to be at the symposium.
All right, so I do want to get to the symposium. However, I would love to talk to you a little bit about, because I know that some of my listeners probably have no idea about the vampire community and the things involved with it. So can you tell us a little bit about the safety when it comes to painting with blood, or even doing your performance acts or anything, and things along that line?
Sure. So yeah, obviously safety is our number one priority whenever we do a live stage performance, and that includes like having a bio person, or at least 1 or 2 bio people that are not actually on stage. They're there to facilitate any mishaps that might happen. I am, like I said, a trained professional tattoo artist and body piercer. So I've been certified in the bloodborne pathogens and universal precaution, these type of things that we use every day in our tattoo studio. But on stage, basic precautions that we use is obviously we lay down a tarp on the stage so that if there's any spill that it goes on the tarp. We have individuals that are strictly for bio. Anything that might spill or whatever, that's their job, is to contain it. I've been doing this a while, so I'm pretty proficient in when I do a stage performance now, knowing how to poke my vein and have that blood go directly into a container or chalice. I usually use a chalice. I've gotten really good at that, and then so once I have enough, and mind you, like I said, when it's a performance art, it's 5 minutes top, so I don't need a whole lot, and it's an abstract painting on stage, so I don't need a whole lot. I'm not hurting myself in any way by taking too much blood, and as soon as I remove the needle or whatever, there's a bio person there who covers it in a bandage to keep it contained. And then I'm pretty focused and contained on just my canvas. I always use a canvas, so I keep it contained to that. Sometimes it's a bigger canvas, or depending on if I'm suspended or not, because I'll suspend horizontally and I'll have the canvas underneath me. I usually have somebody holding it, and I paint that way. When it comes to painting in my studio, not my tattoo studio, I don't paint in my tattoo studio. I mean my studio at home. Like I said, my ex is a phlebotomist. She's a licensed phlebotomist, and she's also a licensed surgical tech. So whenever I need to draw some blood, I allow her to do it, because she's the professional. And I use the test tubes that have the decoagulant in it, and I just store it. I store it in my refrigerator, and I use it as I need it. Doing paintings at home, you don't really need a lot.
That's what I was about to ask you. How much these, because I don't know the size of these paintings. They're on your website. I'd love to know, kind of like get an idea of the size and how much it requires to make something like this.
So I'm going to say one of my biggest would be the heroin overdose, and the higher power. And I'm going to say that's about 4 by 5, 4 feet by 5 feet, something like that.
That's a lot bigger than I thought.
Yeah, those are one of the bigger ones. But even though, go ahead.
This heroin overdose piece and higher power, they're both stunning. They're very cool.
Thank you. I kind of played on the word heroin, with the E at the end for the female aspect. And in that piece, I could see it. You don't know if God's hand is killing her or raising her.
Right.
That's kind of interesting. So, but yeah, no, I don't need a lot. And when I work with these paintings on canvas, I have to work in layers, because I have to let the certain layer dry before I can go back into it. So I'm usually working on 3 or 4 paintings at a time, and it's really a little goes a long way. Honestly, one test tube that you would get at the doctor's office when they're taking your blood, that can be enough for a whole painting. Right.
That's cool. Yeah, I wasn't sure, because it just seems like a lot of blood on these canvases, and now knowing the size, it seems like an insane amount. Do you use, what kind of brushes do you use? I know that's kind of a really weird question, but
so I have some brushes. I get these.
Okay.
Yeah, I get these from India. I have all different styles, different sizes.
That's what I was wondering. So just regular acrylic paintbrushes, or?
Yeah.
All right. So you had mentioned that you were going to show your new art pieces at the symposium. Can you tell me about the symposium? It looks really fun. Have you done this before?
Not on this scale. This is one of the biggest endeavors I've taken on, and I put a lot of heart and a lot of detail into this, and time and effort, um, because, like I said, the past 7 years have been a very self self reconstructing, if you will, myself since I've stopped using drugs and alcohol. Um, it's been a time for me to repair uh, broken relationships, making amends, as well as just stabilizing my life again, and all the things, the new studio, my relationship with my family, all these things keep getting better and better and better, and I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to do this. So for me, the symposium is a way of inviting my friends, my family, uh, to celebrate, I guess, where I'm at in my life right now. Um, I've thrown parties before, in New York City, here in Florida, um, and I always try to make it a little bit more than just a party. Yeah, because it's great. The aesthetic looks cool, and there's good music and everything like that. But I'm really into more about finding out who the real vampires are, who the real witches are, and by that, by real, I mean who's using this for more than just an aesthetic to look cool at the party. Um, back in New York, I started something called the Undead Poet Society,
Okay.
which was a way for me to get to know my community. Because we would go to these parties and we'd have a great time, and there was a lot of drinking and a lot of other stuff, and you walk away and you don't even know who you were just hanging out with. Nobody was really talking to each other at length or in depth. Let's say that, right? So I said, you know what? What's better than poetry to get to know somebody? So I started the Undead Poet Society, which was a monthly slam that you came and you paid $5 to read, and you could win. I would give prizes away. And, I would give tattoos away. I'd give journals away for the winners, and the winners were decided by the audience. So it was like, bring your friends, and the only requisite that it had to be 3 minutes and it had to be original. That's it. And I'll tell you, people came out of the woodwork, and I was really happy with it. We did it at Otto's Shrunken Head back in the city, with the blessings of Father Vincent, who has since passed on. But he was a great advocate for it, and he gave me the space to use for no charge. He said, "Do your thing," and it was a success. So when I felt like it was time for me to, for lack of a better word, plant my flag down here in Fort Lauderdale, I said, obviously we're going to throw a party, but I want to do something more. So I started down here called the Hell's Gate Halo.
I
And
was just about to ask who started Hell's Gate.
so yeah, so that was my idea. And at first, somebody asked me, "Well, why are you going to call it Hell's Gate?" And I was like, "Bro, if we go any further south, we're going to be in hell. We're in South Florida. Like, what else can you do?" And he was like, "No." He pushed me a little bit. He's like, "No, find something more." So I did a little digging, and I found out that the Bermuda Triangle, which is also the Devil's Triangle, has 3 points: Bermuda, Puerto Rico, which is where I'm from, and Fort Lauderdale.
Right.
Like, the apex of the triangle points directly to Fort Lauderdale. And as vampires, we are drawn to these energy nodes, right? These little places of mysterious energy forces. So it kind of aligned together. I say, okay, the Devil's Triangle, so now this is Hell's Gate Halo. Boom.
Right. That's
Right?
awesome.
Yeah, that's how that came about.
That's perfect.
And yeah, it was. It was like wow, this is like meant to be. Now, I've learned that each Halo should have a type of goal or a primary purpose, if you will. So my primary purpose for the Hell's Gate Halo is to showcase art in every aspect, in every form, whether it's music, dance, photography, theater, filmmaking, whatever, crafting, poetry, writing, movie making, whatever it is your art is, we want to showcase it and promote it, if you will. And one of the arts that I believe is becoming a lost art is the art of conversation.
Definitely. I totally agree with that.
Right. There's too many people where, everybody's on their phone and all you see is the top of their head, and people don't know how to converse, and they don't offer the chance for somebody else's opinion to be brought to the conversation. So day one of the symposium, I should also say that I was looking at words to use. I didn't just want to use a ball. I didn't want to just use like soiree or whatever. So I did a little research, and I found the word symposium, and I did a little research, and I found out about Plato's book, the Symposium. And when I got it and I read it, I was like, oh, this is perfect, because what he did was he invited, and this was something that was a repeating thing that they did in Athens back in the day, where they would invite the greatest minds to come and talk and speak, give a little bit of a speech, if you will, on a specific topic. And then there would be drinking and a lot of fornicating going on, and a lot of food, and a lot of all the stuff that the Greeks used to do.
Yeah, the Greeks know how to party.
Yeah, Greeks know how to party. So I figured, what better way, what's the word, to shadow that concept with what I wanted to do. So day one, I've invited everybody, all my friends, specifically there's 4 individuals that I consider pillars of the vampire community, and have been for the last 25 years. Magister Khalida, Magister Zaya, the Sultan Jabbar, and Madam Lisa Webb. I've invited them to come and be my honored guests and be the icebreakers to the conversation. Because what I've set up is a beautiful dining room where we will partake of a full 5-course meal, an open bar from 6 to 11.
Wow.
There'll be some background music going on, some live music going on, but mostly it's going to be about the conversation. And each one of these people will get up and do a 5-minute speech on a specific topic of their choosing to keep the conversation flowing throughout dinner. So at each course, somebody else will get up and they'll say their little speech and their topic, and we just keep the conversation flowing, because I want to hear what other people have to say and what they think. And I don't want to just, I don't want to hog the whole conversation. I want to hear somebody else's point of view. Because one thing I've learned is I'm still always learning. Every day, if I'm not learning something, then I need to stop. So that's day one. Also, you should know that the menu is going to be Latin flavors, since we are in South Florida. So I'm bringing the sabor. I'm bringing the Spanish flavor. That's day one, and that's at the Ocean Manor Beach Resort in Fort Lauderdale. It's this beautiful dining room with we have the whole beach scene as our backdrop, and it's just going to be a beautiful event. Day two is Friday the 13th at the Venue Live in Fort Lauderdale, which is a beautiful space. I've got the Crystal Ballroom, which is this beautiful ballroom with a beautiful stage, and there's an upstairs area that's got a mezzanine for our VIP guests, and we'll have another VIP bottle service downstairs. And this is the soiree. This is the ball, if you will. And the things I have lined up are a local band here in Fort Lauderdale called Rux Vendetta, and they are like I can't say enough about these guys. It's as if The Cure and Typo Negative had a baby.
Oh,
It would be this band.
amazing.
And, yeah, and they're a 3-piece band, and they're so tight and melodic, and when they play live, you can dance to their music. You know what I mean? It's really amazing. So I've booked Rux Vendetta, and then I have 3 local DJs here that are going to be spinning all night. DJ Linda Smash, DJ Lady Anime, and DJ Danny Bled. So what I've learned in my experience is not to clutter up my dance floor with a bunch of performances. So what I'm doing is I'm combining a group that's come together. We're calling it the Hell's Gate Fire and Drum Troupe. And they are taiko drummers.
Ooh.
And fire performers. And I've invited my friend Alexis Noventa from Puerto Rico to come and do a shibari performance. But it's all going to be one performance. So the taiko drummers and the fire performers will accentuate the shibari performance.
That's awesome.
And then the shibari performance artist, the person who's going to be roped up, she becomes the living altar that will be the canvas, if you will, for a vampire consecration ritual, which the 4 other people that I mentioned will be a part of. And I will do a live blood painting that night on stage. And what I'm doing is I'm going to paint the Hell's Gate sigil. And I'm going to do it in blood. And everybody who's involved is going to charge that sigil. And with all the good energy that's going to happen in that sigil, that's going to project what the future of Hell's Gate's going to be.
That's actually sounds incredible. And now I want to go.
Well, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to look into it, see if I can swing it this year. But it seems like it's going to be an incredible event, and I'm really excited for you. You've got it all planned out, huh?
Thank you. I also, I should make mention too that, kind of like where you're at, the scene, if you will, or the vampire community down here is not as big. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't know about it and don't know what it is about. So that's one of the reasons I set up the Hell's Gate Halo page, so that people could ask questions or post their artwork. And one of the things I'm doing too is I'm bringing one of my favorite fangsmiths down a week before the event to take appointments to get fangs, if anybody's interested in getting their fangs.
Who's your fangsmith?
Her name is Ra Ubasti.
Oh, she's from New York.
Yes.
I know exactly who's her. I really want to get a pair of her stuff, or her fangs, because she does some really interesting stuff I've never seen before.
Yes, she is truly an artist, and I've invited her to come down, and she'll be taking appointments for the event. So yeah, that's and as well, I will have almost all of my first series on display at the event on Friday the 13th. So the other thing is I've joined up with the Wilton Collective, which is a partnership with something called Julian's Fountain of Youth, which is a charitable organization here in Wilton Manors that helps young people of the LGBTQ community, help them learn how to make a resume, how to go to a job interview, how to get a job, and things that a lot of these young kids are not being taught.
That is so important.
Yeah, I think so. And so what I'm doing is I'm going to auction off. Well, so here's the cool thing. Uh, One of my favorite performers down here is a drag artist performance. Her name is Daisy Dead Petals. She is going to be the auctioneer to one of my paintings, and I'm going to donate 100% of the proceeds to Julian's Fountain of Youth.
That's amazing.
Um,
When you said, "Oh, here's the cool thing," I was like, "Wait, we haven't gotten to the cool thing yet because we've been talking about cool things this whole time."
well, that's another thing too. I don't want there to be a dull moment at this party. I want there to be things popping off all the time. And I forgot to make mention of Jack and Shane Townsend, the authors from New York. They will be at the symposium banquet as also a guest speaker. I believe he's going to read something from one of his poetry works, and they're going to be doing a meet and greet on the 13th and a book signing at the party. And then I think the final thing that I have lined up is the best dressed vampire couple. And we'll be giving away prizes and possibly some cash prizes for the best dressed, because it's a noir blanc. It's a black and white themed. So bring your hottest fit, and we'll see you at the ball.
That's now I really want to go. Okay, well, look, this has been an incredible interview. I feel like we've covered so much in such a short amount of time. Can you tell everybody a little bit how to find you online, where the tickets are for the symposium, and so on?
Absolutely. So the first thing you could easily do is just go to miguelvalentin.com. That's my website, and there's a drop down for the symposium. There's a drop down for Hell's Gate. And the way to buy the tickets is through Eventbrite. So it's Vampyre with a Y, vampyre.eventbrite.com. That'll take you to the ticket price. And I'll tell you a little secret. If you put in Miguel 20, you'll get 20% off the ticket.
Oh, you heard it here, folks. Miguel 20 for 20% off of your Vampyre Symposium tickets. All right.
That's right.
That's I'll make sure so people have to watch the podcast to get a discount.
That's right. Absolutely.
Was there anything else you wanted to kind of talk about that you were working on?
This has consumed me. This is basically everything has been consuming me since January, and when I birthed this idea. But I guess what I would love is more traffic on the Hell's Gate Halo page, because this is not just for me. I'm making this page for everyone to take a part of. I'm not trying to be king of anything. If anything, I'm a co-contributor, and we can't grow unless you participate. Yeah, so go to Hell's Gate Halo on Instagram, give a like and a follow. You're an automatic member, and then use the platform. Use the platform to show your artwork, show off what it is that you do. And it doesn't just have to be vampiric. It can be Wiccan or we're inviting everybody. This is for everybody. This is for vampires. This is for witches. This is for werewolves, creatures of the fae, other kind, other kin. Everyone is welcome. And those who are just curious as to what it means to practice magic or to be a vampire, we welcome all that.
So is the Halo just for Florida, like the South Florida area, or is it for everybody?
Well, everybody can take a part of it. The South Florida area is the Halo.
Got it.
A Halo is just basically an egregore or an area where that there's like-minded people in that area. So if you see anything with the Hell's Gate Halo, it's a safe space.
Right. Well, it was lovely talking to you, Miguel. And we'll make sure we get everybody to all of the information that you've shared with us. I'll make sure to share your art. It's so cool. And I hope that you have an incredible Vampyre Symposium and an amazing rest of your day. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I love it.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us on the Coffin Lounge podcast. Make sure you subscribe both on YouTube, and if you'd like to just listen to us, you can subscribe on, oh my gosh, Spotify. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.